Beyond Reason Radio.
Joe Biden wins Virginia, and Bernie Sanders takes Vermont. That is what NBC News is projecting. Fox News has also projected that Biden has won Virginia. It is Super Tuesday, and this is the Super Tuesday edition of Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. The polls have closed in some of the Super Tuesday states, and that is what we are going to cover and more on this edition of Beyond Reason Radio here on News Radio WFLA Orlando. We are live until 8 p.m., but if you miss any of the show, you can catch the podcast on the iHeartRadio app. Now, after us tonight, you have Neighbor's Choice. They will also be doing Super Tuesday coverage. That's at 8 o'clock. And then at 9 p.m., have Fox News coverage live of Super Tuesday. But as I mentioned, right now, looking at the latest results, which, they're still coming in, the votes. Some of the polls just ended. The next polls close at 7:30 in some of the other states. But as of this moment, it is projected that Joe Biden has won Virginia and Bernie Sanders has won Vermont. Not too surprising of a result there, really, from anyone, I'm sure. But these are the two names, really, that everyone's going to be watching. Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Now, there's also Mike Bloomberg. Some people are watching him. I have a feeling that's not what they're going to be watching in a couple hours because they're going to realize maybe he didn't do as well.
He's the spoiler, as they say.
Yeah, they say he's the spoiler. It's amazing that Elizabeth Warren is no longer the spoiler. I mean, she's still in it. Mm-hmm. Amy Klobuchar's out. Pete Buttigieg is out. Mm-hmm. Tom Steyer is out. And Elizabeth Warren's still in it, and she's like, hello? Or that was too nice of Elizabeth Warren. Hello. Was that a little bit better? so we're gonna keep track of all the latest. I have the news here in front of me. If there's any more updates, we'll cover it right here on Beyond Reason Radio. We have to talk about what's going on with Super Tuesday. And by the way, Tom Benson, if there are any updates that you get during the show, just feel free to interrupt me. Cut in, say we have to cover this right now, Yaffee. I know you're making a brilliant point in one of your monologues. But we have to interrupt this because we have to do Super Tuesday coverage. By the way, you can text the show at 23680, and you can also watch us on Facebook Live. Just go to the Beyond Reason Radio Facebook page and like that as well. So, by the way, Tom Benson, he's joining me tonight.
Yeah, the 7 o'clock lead is, you're correct. Joe Biden wins the Virginia primary. Bernie Sanders captures his home state of Vermont. That's according to various news sites. And those are the only two states that we have results from right now. But the reason they call it the Super Tuesday event is because states casting ballots together contain 40% of the U.S. population.
Exactly.
That's a pretty big figure.
This is a big deal because the primaries before this were pretty much small state primaries. South Carolina is a little bit bigger. But all of a sudden now, you have all of these other states, 40% of the U.S. population coming in and making their decision. And it seems like a lot of them so far are making that decision for Joe Biden. We have to talk about Biden, though, because can you believe that this is the guy who the Democrats are coalescing around? By the way, currently, according to Real Clear Politics, Sanders has 60 delegates. Biden has 54 delegates. Mm-hmm. Buttigieg has 26 delegates. What happens to those delegates since he dropped out? Do they go to Biden? Does he get to pick? I need to look that up, actually, because I'm not exactly sure. And Warren has 8 delegates. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, and Bloomberg, I don't know if he has any. Now, a lot of these states, the way they do it in the Democrat Party is they split it up based on proportion of the vote. So it's not a winner-take-all in a lot of these states. People are looking at California because if Joe Biden gets over 15% of the vote in California, he will get some of those delegates. Now, below 15%, he doesn't get any of the delegates, and probably Bernie Sanders will get all of the delegates. But if Joe Biden gets more than 15%, he could take some of the delegates in California. Same is true in Texas. He could take some of the delegates in Texas. Some of the latest polls had it pretty close, had Joe Biden really close in Texas, really close in California, a lot closer than he was, and in actually leading in some cases in Texas. So pretty interesting stuff when you're talking about what's going on Super Tuesday. But I have to go back to Joe Biden, because it's amazing to see the Democrat establishment basically coalesce around this guy. And you can tell that the main reason they're doing this, it's not because they have confidence in Joe Biden.
What?
There's no way they have confidence in that guy.
What?
Okay. Yeah. Sarcasm in the control. I like it.
Yes.
But it's because they're afraid of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
They really, really don't want that guy to win. Now, I wonder why that is. Is it just because they think he can't beat Trump? Is that the only reason they don't want Bernie Sanders to win? Or are they actually concerned about what he would do as the leader of the Democratic Party?
I think a little bit of the latter. I also think something you don't hear too much about is I think it's a generational thing. I think the old guys don't want to give up power. Yeah,
and Bernie Sanders is old himself, but his support, the Bernie bros as they call them, they're young, a lot of young support who want revolution. And we'll get to that in a moment. But back to Joe Biden. I mean, here, just in the past few weeks, I have a montage here of all the gaffes he has made. You know, individually, these gaffes don't really seem like much of a big deal because, we all make mistakes, especially someone who's in broadcasting. I make mistakes like this sometimes. I know. How could I admit
really?
that? But it's the context of all of them happening all the time, continuously.
Especially in the last, 10 days or so?
Yeah, and it seems like it's getting worse. And it's sad to watch. And you watch him in the debate, and you're just kind of cringing when he starts to make a statement, because if he goes past 2 sentences, you're like, wrap it up, Biden, because there's going to be a mistake coming. I mean, we laugh because it's true.
Yeah.
But here's a montage just in the past, few months of Biden making mistakes and gaffes and memory lapses one after the other.
This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto, trying to get to see him on Robbins Island. Chip in and support our campaign. Text Joe 23, I got to get this right. Joe to 30330. All those Democrats who won against incumbents, from Jimmy Carter to a guy named Clinton, to a guy named Obama, my good friend, guess what? They had overwhelming African-American support. I've been coming here a long time.
Biden didn't run against an incumbent. Or not Biden, Obama.
I like the low country, you know what I mean?
Yep, wrong city. He wasn't in that city.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay? Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Ooh, this is bad.
All men and women created by you know the thing. You know how we talk about it. Are we the people, folks, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights? We've never lived up to that. Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? There's 2 things. One is capable of immediately being president, because I'm an old guy.
You are an old guy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. Thanks for your time. Please come back in less than 13 years, sir.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
Chris. I just did Chris. No, I just did Chuck.
Oh, no. Oh,
I
dear.
tell you what, man, these are back-to-back.
Oh,
anyway,
man, it's tough. It's tough. I mean,
safe travels on the campaign trail. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I mean, oh, man, these are back-to-back. I don't know how you do it. You're running for president. If you can't do it, maybe you shouldn't be president. I just think and he goes, I just did Chris. Chuck. I did an interview with Chuck Todd, which, that those mistakes can happen. But literally right before that, he was talking with Chris Wallace about some of his criticisms of his age and his memory lapses and his gaffes. It was in the context of talking about that that Biden has another gaffe right after that. This is a problem. And the Democrats are coalescing around this guy, though, because they are afraid of Bernie Sanders. And there's a part of me that is like, are any of you concerned about what happens if someone like Biden actually, if he became president, and this kind of stuff just gets worse and worse? What happens? What do you do in that situation? Do you just have the vice president do everything?
What if he gets confused with world leaders? Who's he talking to?
Like they're gonna try to cover it up, no doubt. But that's kind of concerning in and of itself. But as I mentioned, the establishment, the Democrat Party, they really don't want Bernie Sanders in there. And evidence of this was Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar dropping out just days before it's Super Tuesday. Now, it's kind of amazing because you have early votes in a lot of these states. So Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar will both get votes because people voted early before they dropped out. They dropped out at last minute. But what happened next is interesting because both of them endorsed Biden almost immediately because they know, they're like, okay, we can't let Bernie win. We have to get Biden. We'll do some quid pro quo.
What?
As Trump called it, where
No, you can't do that.
We endorse him and he'll give us a spot in the administration. Here is Pete Buttigieg endorsing Joe Biden.
I'm delighted to endorse and support Joe Biden for president.
And Amy Klobuchar as well on the same day. This is the only thing that Amy and Pete actually agree on, I think. Because usually when you watch
I am ending my campaign and endorsing Joe Biden for president.
Usually when you watch Amy and Pete in a debate, they hate each other, but they both ended their campaign and are endorsing Joe Biden. Now, I actually have another point to make on that with their endorsements of Joe Biden. I've noticed, and I don't have the audio, but Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar both said that one of the reasons they endorsed Joe Biden is because they want to bring civility back into politics. They want decency and civility and someone who will bring the country together and unite the country. And they think Joe Biden's the guy to do that because they don't want Bernie Sanders because he's not the guy that would be able to do that, according to them. But my first thought was when they said that is, okay, so their strategy now is that's how we're going to beat Trump. Their strategy is not ideology, which is Sanders' strategy. Sanders' strategy has been, we are going to be ideologically on the left so much and offer a revolution in politics and the country, and people will want that so much and be attracted to that so much that they will vote for him against Trump. It's obvious that the Democrat establishment right now, they believe that's the wrong strategy to beat Trump. They believe the only way that you can beat Donald Trump is point out his character flaws, point out his rhetoric, point out all of those things that he says and try to be the opposite of that. And we'll be the party of civility. We'll bring normalcy back to the country. We'll be the party of unification and decency. And we're going to do that with Joe Biden. And they think that's the strategy to beat Donald Trump. I got to tell you, I don't think that's going to work. Because I don't think the American people, unfortunately, I'm one of the people that actually does want some decency. Joe Biden obviously isn't the guy to do that. But I don't think the American people want decency and civility in politics right now. I think when you look at the politics, they want someone who's going to fight and who's going to do what it takes to win. That was one reason why Trump got a lot of support. And that's one reason why Bernie Sanders actually gets a lot of support. So it's very interesting that they're going to the strategy of we're not going to focus too much actually on policy differences, on ideological differences. We're going to focus on differences of rhetoric. I think that might be a mistake. Part of me feels like the Democrat Party would have been smarter to back Bernie Sanders and focus on ideological differences because people don't want civility right now. They want what they believe is authenticity. They want someone who's willing to fight because they believe that's what makes them authentic. And I think it's going to be the wrong strategy for them against Donald Trump. So we're going to take a break here in a second. This is the Super Tuesday edition of Beyond Reason. Just Want to point out once again that Joe Biden is projected to win the state of Virginia, and Bernie Sanders is projected to win the state of Vermont in the Democrat primary on Super Tuesday. The votes are going to be coming in soon in some of the other states, and of course, throughout the night, we will be covering all of this on News Radio WFLA Orlando, and I will be right back.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Guys, we live in Central Florida. It's so important that your AC works perfectly every single time, and that's why I strongly suggest a call to Mills Air. In business since 1992, that's 28 years of experience in keeping Central Florida cool. Check this out. Their techs can service any brand out there, so don't worry. And Mills Air is a Carrier Factory authorized dealer, which means they can get you up to $1,275 in rebates towards a brand new Carrier unit. You can always turn to the experts at Carrier, and you can always turn to family-owned and operated Mills Air. Call today to schedule your appointment, 407-277-1159. Find them online at millsair.com.
Here's Bud Hedinger talking about his favorite food from around the world.
Oh, I'm a lucky guy. I can eat in Italy anytime I want because my wife's Italian and a real good cook. But beyond that, I have sweet, tasty memories of Wiener Schnitzel in Germany, Caribbean delights savored from Antigua to Cancun. Oh, yeah.
Find your favorite at the World Food Festival at Cranes Roost Park, March 28th. Details at worldfoodfestivalflorida.com. Brought to you by Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Fox 35 and Silk Road Wines.
Message and data rates may apply. Earning your degree from one of the top business schools in the country might sound impossible to fit into your workload. But what if there were a business degree that advanced your career skills and gave you access to world-renowned faculty, leaders, and mentors all on your schedule? One that opened doors to some of the most influential CEOs, tech companies, law firms, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. And what if you could earn that degree in as little as 16 months, 100% online? Find out more. Text DRIVE to 79645. Start on the path to earning your MBA or Business Analytics Master's degree online from the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University today. Learn more about the graduate programs from the top-ranked W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, offered 100% online. Text DRIVE to 79645. That's DRIVE to 79645.
Glenn Beck, weekdays 9 a.m. till noon on News Radio WFLA Orlando. The voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason is back now.
Joe wins Virginia. That's the headline right now. If you go to foxnews.com, and you will see that pretty much all the news outlets right now are projecting that Joe Biden has won Virginia. Now, looking at realclearpolitics.com, they have all the totals for all the states. And, it's just Vermont and Virginia that we're looking at right now because the polls haven't closed in a lot of the other states. Biden won Virginia. So far, according to the vote count, he has 53% of the vote. Sanders comes in second with 23.6% of the vote. Here's what's really interesting, though. Guess who comes in third? Who do you think comes in third, Tom Benson?
In Virginia.
Yes.
We're talking about...
So Biden's first, Sanders is second. Who's third?
Elizabeth Warren.
Yes. That means she is above Michael Bloomberg, who has spent over $600 million in this campaign. Wow. But Bloomberg is in fourth with 9.2. It's really close between Warren and Bloomberg, actually. But so far, looking at the count, I don't think either of them will get really any delegates out of Virginia. But as it looks right now, Biden gets 41 delegates from Virginia. That's a big haul. And Sanders would get 9 delegates from Virginia. This is all according to RealClearPolitics.com. Now, in Vermont, Sanders has 46% of the vote, and Biden has 24% of the vote. And very interesting, once again, Warren is in third with 12%, and Bloomberg's in fourth with 10%. So you have 2 states that are going on right now. We're getting results from. And Warren is in third, and Bloomberg is in fourth.
So much for buying the election, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. What's really interesting here as well is, according to a couple of polls that came out right before today, Joe Biden closes to within 7 points of Bernie Sanders in California, which is pretty close because they thought Bernie Sanders was going to run away with that. Yeah. And Joe Biden leads in Texas. Now, Sanders led Biden by 21 points in the latest CNN poll on California, but in a Data for Progress poll released yesterday, Biden trailed Sanders within the poll's margin of error. 25% to Sanders, 32%. The poll was taken between February 28th and March 2nd, so only some of the respondents were aware of Biden's victory, and even fewer were polled after candidates Pete and Amy dropped out. So it actually could be better for Biden in California. Sanders held an advantage in Texas for several weeks, including having a 9-point edge in the same poll a week ago. But Biden has now leapfrogged Bernie in the Lone Star State to take a 30% to 28% lead. Most of this poll was taken before Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke endorsed Biden last night. So these polls were taken before some of these things happened, but it shows Biden really gaining on Bernie Sanders, who was the front runner.
On one hand, I was surprised they resurrected, if you will, Beto O'Rourke, but they probably want to use him to woo Texas voters.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean that's why they did it. But it's funny. I totally forgot about him.
Exactly. That's why
when
I thought
he came in, I was like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
I completely forgot he even existed.
What is he doing now? Delivering newspapers, or I have no idea.
I'm sure he's just sitting at home soaking up his inheritance money or whatever it is. So what's really interesting, though, is really the theme of all this is how the Democrat Party has coalesced around Joe Biden because they don't want Bernie Sanders.
But they'll never admit it.
Oh, yeah, they'll never admit it. We'll get to that in a moment, actually. But an example of how some establishment Democrats don't want Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, who will just never, ever go away, apparently, ever. She will never retire. She will never go away. In 30 years, I will be doing a show, and I'll be talking about Hillary Clinton for some reason. It's just going to happen.
Young whippersnapper.
So here is Hillary, though, recently talking about Bernie Sanders.
And really just curious to get your response to hearing that Bernie Sanders said that if he makes it to the convention with the most pledged delegates, that he should be the nominee. That's quite a bit of a change in his stance from 2016. Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is let's follow the rules. We've got rules. We had rules last time and we have rules this time. And I think it's always a good idea to follow the rules. Everybody knew what they were when you got into it.
In the campaign, in the documentary, you talk about his campaign from 2016 and you call it, quote, just baloney. And I feel so bad that people got sucked into it. Do you still feel that way now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was my authentic opinion then. It's my authentic opinion now. Here's one of the saddest things happening right now. The House of Representatives under Democratic leadership has passed 400 bills on really important issues, everything from health care to economic security to election security. It just goes on and on. Does anybody know that, Lindsay? Of course not. Nobody knows that. Change is hard. It's not glamorous. It doesn't fit into a soundbite. And yet the people who were elected in 2018 are down there doing the people's work. And I just think we ought to be more understanding and realistic about what it takes to get change in this big, complicated, pluralistic democracy of ours. And it's not easy, but boy, is it ever worth it. And I just want to make sure that voters know what can be done if they give the White House back to the Democrats.
Hillary Clinton once again going after Bernie Sanders. So the latest results we have right now, Joe Biden wins Virginia. So far, he's got 56% of the vote. Bloomberg is in fourth with less than 9% of the vote.
And Fox News is also saying Biden is winning in North Carolina.
Wow. So yeah, the polls literally just closed like 2 seconds ago in North Carolina, and they're already saying that Biden's probably going to win North Carolina. Bernie Sanders has won Vermont, according to the projections, with 53% of the votes right now. By the way, Biden gets 52 delegates. As of this moment, Biden has 52 delegates out of Virginia. It might even get more later on.
What a remarkable turnaround. About 2 weeks ago, he looked like he was on the ropes.
I know, and it looked like Bernie Sanders was the guy. Now, Bernie Sanders still might be the guy, but you're right. The Democrat Party has coalesced around Joe Biden. We're going to continue this conversation, this Super Tuesday coverage, Super Tuesday edition of Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
If this radio spot were Nikki Baker's life, it would start pretty normal, like this.
But then right around here, her life would take a bad turn with her mother abusing her.
And about this far in, Nikki would drop out of high school and run away.
Here, she'd be forced to work 2 jobs, struggling to support herself and her daughter.
She'd feel stuck.
But then she'd decide to earn her GED diploma.
She'd take my prep classes.
Study every night.
And feel unstuck.
Because she'd finally hear someone say,
Nikki Baker, come up and get your GED diploma.
If this radio spot were Nikki Baker's life, the ending wouldn't be the ending at all. It would be the beginning of a brighter future. For free info about GED test prep classes, call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org.
GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Stay ahead of the storm with Operation Stormwatch on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Here's your News Radio WFLA Orlando exclusive AccuWeather forecast. Tuesday night, partly cloudy and mild, the low 66. Wednesday, partly sunny, very warm, the high 89. Thursday, some sunshine, then turning cloudy, windy, and remaining very warm with a high of 90. Friday, times of clouds and sunshine. It'll be breezy in the morning, then become less humid with a high of 76. All day, every day, news, weather, and traffic on News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm Drew Shannon.
I'm here for you, to make children smile, to make profits rise. I am the subservient of the network. Did we get all that on tape? Hey, my show! My show!
Mine. It's actually my show. Hey, I'm Melissa Fox. Join me for Connection Show, Thursdays at 9 p.m. on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
I'm not gonna tell you again! I'm telling you, I am not gonna tell you again!
9 o'clock Thursdays, Connections.
Hey, it's the Budman here for Safe Touch Home Security. My friend, you need a Safe Touch home security system like we have and wouldn't be without. Why? Because we're talking about matchless security to keep the bad guys out of your home at matchless prices. And I'm seeing so much in the news these days about these do-it-yourself ringy-dingy doorbells that are getting advertised. They're also getting hacked all over the place, letting hackers see right inside your home. It's a nightmare. I mean, what we're talking about here is cheap equipment lacking encryption. Safe Touch has encryption with their cameras and their video doorbells integrated right into your security system. This is what you need. And, of course, you get the 45-second alarm response guarantee that nobody else gives you and that two-way communicator to get your alarm verified and help ASAP. All for about $1.50 a day. Go to safetouch.com, safetouch.com. Safe Touch doing what others can't for over 35 years. State license number EF233.
News Radio WFLA Orlando is available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now #1 for podcasting. News Radio WFLA Orlando, an iHeart radio station.
The
Conscience in your ear telling you the difference between right and wrong. Yaffee is back on the air.
And we are back with more breaking news on this Super Tuesday edition of Beyond Reason Radio, or as I like to call it, Beyond Reason Super Tuesday. Joe Biden has won North Carolina. That is according to Fox News and NBC News, both projecting that Joe Biden has won the state of North Carolina. Now, up for grabs in that state is 110 delegates. So Biden has won Virginia, according to projections. We don't know how many delegates he'll get as of yet because it goes based on proportionality. But as of right now, with 29% of the votes in, according to Real Clear Politics, Biden gets 54 delegates in Virginia. Sanders gets 11. But there are 99 delegates up for grabs in the state of Virginia. So most likely, as more votes come in and they're able to proportion out the delegates, Biden's going to get a lot more in that state. Now, it's also been projected that Bernie Sanders has won Vermont. You have 16 delegates up for grabs in that state, so not a whole lot. Don't exactly know what the delegate count's going to be there as of yet. But right now, Sanders has 52% of the vote, but that's only with 2% of the precincts reporting.
And he's done nothing. He has not done well in the South so far. So it would be interesting to see what happens in Texas.
The other big story is Michael Bloomberg behind Elizabeth Warren a little bit, although Warren and Bloomberg are battling for third and fourth in Virginia. That's a big deal because Bloomberg's has spent a lot of money, but Bloomberg's in fourth in Vermont. North Carolina, we're still waiting to see some of the results, but according to the projections, as of right now, Joe Biden has won North Carolina, 110 delegates up for grabs there. Now, we've been talking about the fact the big story is with all of this, and just looking at the results, is the Democrat Party really against Joe Biden. Really, I mean, not good Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. I had a Biden moment there. It's not good. I mean, I'm a lot younger than Biden. I shouldn't be having those. But the Democrat Party is really against Bernie Sanders getting the nomination. It's been obvious. We've been playing cuts here. And in the last segment, Tom Benson, you had said that the Democrat Party doesn't want to admit this, right?
Right.
An example of that would be former DNC chairman Donna Brazile. Now, she's a Fox News contributor now, and she was on Fox News earlier, and she was talking about reacting to the fact that some are saying the party's rigging this against Bernie, and that if it goes into the convention, even if Bernie has the plurality of the delegates, it will be rigged against him, and Joe Biden or somebody else would end up getting the nomination because the Democrat Party doesn't want Bernie to get the nomination. Donna Brazile on Fox News earlier today, it's kind of funny because she practically has a meltdown.
She went ballistic.
She went ballistic over this accusation that the Democrat Party is not being fair against Bernie. Here's what she said.
Ronna McDaniel on, Donna, earlier on the program, chairwoman of the RNC, and she was talking about the possibility of a brokered convention, the impact that would have on Bernie Sanders. Here's Ronna.
It does depend on how big the lead that Sanders takes out of California is, if he picks up a huge proportion of delegates. I don't see anybody getting out soon, and it's leading towards potentially a brokered convention, which will be rigged against Bernie if those superdelegates have their way on that second vote.
To that, you say what, Donna?
First of all, I want to talk to my Republicans. First of all, stay the hell out of our race. Stay the hell out of our race. I get sick and tired, Ed and Sandra, of listening to Republicans tell me and the Democrats about our process. First of all, they don't have a process. They're canceling primaries. They have winner take all. They don't have the kind of democracy that we see on the Democratic side. And for people to use Russian talking points to sow division among Americans, that is stupid. So, Ronna, go to hell. This is not about, no, go to hell. I'm tired of it, Ed. We're not trying to prevent anyone from becoming the nominee. If you have the delegates and win, you will win. This notion that somehow or another Democrats are out there trying to put hurdles or roadblocks before one candidate, that's stupid. I know what's going on. They are scared of Democrats coming together to defeat Donald Trump. They need to be focusing on what we're focusing on, the Democratic Party, and that is preventing foreign interference in our elections. Stop using Russian talking points, Madam Chairwoman.
It's a Russian talking point that if there isn't a decision going into the convention, and if there's a brokered convention that the party would be against Bernie Sanders, that's a Russian talking point. Really?
It's a diversion.
I mean, come on.
Don't look over here. Look over here.
It's so obvious. You don't have to talk to Russia to find out how incredibly obvious it is that the Democrat Party doesn't want Bernie Sanders to win, and that if they go into a convention, most likely they're not going to give it to Bernie Sanders. I don't need Putin to tell me that. All I have to do is watch the news every day, and it's pretty obvious. Now, this might actually be my voice of reason of the day, which is beyond reason in and of itself. Judge Judy, who is the highest paid television personality, makes 47 million or 41 million or something?
47 million a year.
$47 million a year for her show, Judge Judy. Now, she recently came into politics. She wasn't too much into politics before, but she came in and decided to support Michael Bloomberg. But she was on MSNBC, and she goes after Bernie and the Bernie Bros. And she's kind of right. Makes a lot of sense in this cut here for the most part. And this probably is my voice of reason of the day, but this shows you once again how Democrats do not want Bernie Sanders. And it's not a Russian talking point to say that. It's just kind of common sense when you pay attention to what's going on. Here is Judge Judy.
America is a land of opportunity. It's a place where you can have big dreams, where you can be the hero of your own story, where you can look to realize that American dream. I did. I know Mike Bloomberg did. Senator Sanders' revolution is not what this country needs. It's a revolution that, A, is a joke because it's fiscally impossible, and B, wherever it's been tried on a large scale, it's failed. I mean, if you look at socialism, when I looked at the definition, right next to it was a map of Venezuela, and you know how successful it was there. Young people may get excited about the word revolution. Young people always want a revolution. Then they grow up. So it's really a joke to think that you can fool the American public when you've been in Congress for as many years as Bernie Sanders has been in Congress, who I think had either 3 or 4 bills passed in the 30 years that he's been in Congress. And 2 of them were to name post offices. To think that this is a man who can create a revolution, a peaceful revolution in this country, and bring everyone together.
I told you, my voice of reason of the day, believe it or not, is Judge Judy. She's on MSNBC. Now, she supports Michael Bloomberg, which is not a reasonable thing to do, in my opinion. But in those comments there, when she was talking about Bernie Sanders and the revolution and the Bernie Bros and all the stuff they're saying and want, I mean, she was right. Talking about Bernie Sanders, yeah, he's only had passed 2 bills and 1 was post office stations. I mean, come on. She's exactly right. Now, I want to talk about Beyond Reason. I wonder if anyone will agree with me on this. I'm not even sure Tom Benson agrees with me on this. But I'm starting to think that there is one other person out there that the left hates more than Donald Trump. I think there's another person on the right that the left hates even more than Donald Trump.
Okay.
Which is kind of amazing. An example of this came up when Elizabeth Warren was on Jimmy Kimmel Live and talking about who Warren might pick as her vice president. Here's the conversation.
Do you have a person in mind, and I know it's not something you'd probably share, but do you have a person in mind that you feel like this is who I would want to be my running mate?
Yes.
You do?
But I'm not telling.
Okay. Do you think maybe, I feel like it would be wise to reveal those names because I think it could be something that gets people excited.
You might be right about that. On the other hand, think of all those people who think I'm thinking of their name.
Oh, yeah. I have another theory. Someone you've been spending a lot of time with on the campaign trail. If you were to name your dog Bailey your running mate, I think America would love it, absolutely love it. Have you considered, and listen, Donald Trump got a pet for a running mate. Maybe you could do the same thing.
Donald Trump got a pet for a running mate, and maybe you could do the same thing. Talking about Mike Pence. When I've been watching the news, especially the past couple of weeks with this whole coronavirus stuff, it seems to me that the left hates Mike Pence more than they hate Donald Trump. Now, I'm not exactly sure why. Tom Benson, you brought up that maybe it's because he's so Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big part of it because he talks about prayer. How could he talk about prayer? But I think part of it as well is that the left goes after him so hard, and he just bounces off of him. You know, Trump is the opposite. Trump is a counterpuncher, and people love that about him.
Yeah, he likes to punch back.
And he'll punch back as hard as he can.
Sure.
And the left, that drives the left crazy because Trump will troll him. But I'm starting to think Mike Pence even drives him more crazy because they try to go after him just as hard, and Pence just doesn't react. He just stays cool and does his thing. But it seems so obvious to me lately that the left hates Mike Pence even more than they hate Donald Trump. I don't know if that's true, and a lot of people probably disagree with me, but man. Now, a very interesting cut here. Paul Begala was on a panel recently. He's a CNN commentator. And he made a prediction about Trump and Mike Pence, which I think is probably wrong, but here it is.
This is not a prediction, it's a certainty. On Thursday, July 16th, that's the date the Democrat gives her or his acceptance address. On that day, to interrupt that narrative, Donald Trump will call a press conference at Mar-a-Lago. He's going to dump Mike Pence and put Nikki Haley on the ticket to try to get those suburban moms. You watch. Guaranteed. He put Trump in charge. Trump put Pence in charge of coronavirus to throw him on the bus. Brad.
Never going to happen. I understand everyone wants Nikki Haley on the ticket, but Mike Pence probably gets a lot of support from suburban moms as well. I'm pretty sure he does. He's not getting rid of Pence. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. So these predictions, but the left, they hate him so much. And it's funny to watch. Now, another example of this is Mike Pence was on Meet the Press on Sunday talking with Chuck Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Pence got his name right. You know, Biden gets all these names wrong, but Mike Pence at least gets the name right. But he was on talking about coronavirus, and Chuck asked him about Trump accusing the Democrats of politicizing coronavirus. And Mike Pence's reaction is just perfect. This is why the left hates him so much, because he doesn't give in to what they're doing. Here it is.
What facts are there that Democrats are doing this?
Well,
it seems like people are asking questions and they're concerned about the virus. This implies some sort of political motivation, which is kind of gross.
Well, I will tell you, there's been a lot of irresponsible rhetoric among Democrats and commentators.
Who is this?
On the left.
Name some names, sir.
Well,
because this is it just feels like gaslighting. Please name some names. We're all big.
Well,
we're all big people here. Name some names.
There was a column in the New York Times that by a prominent liberal journalist that said we should rename it the Trump virus.
Okay, that is. Does that apply to all people?
So that the president would be blamed. Chuck, this virus began in China.
He named you a name.
This doesn't help.
This took decisive action to protect the American people, and when you see voices on our side pushing back on outrageous and irresponsible rhetoric on the other side, I think that's important.
Do you think this rhetoric from your side helps?
I never begrudge people responding to unwarranted, unjustified attacks. But I promise you, we're going to continue to focus on the mission the president's given this task force and given this government. And that is, we're going to bring the full resources of the federal government to bear. And the American people can be confident that we're going to continue to work this issue. We're going to work with leaders in both parties in Congress to make sure that not only our federal agencies have all the resources they need, but our state and local governments, healthcare providers have the resources and the support to provide the care that every American would want.
Beautiful. Beautiful response by Mike Pence. Doesn't get anybody. He named him a name and it wasn't good enough. By the way, speaking of people that are politicizing this, let's just hear from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer recently talking about coronavirus. Tell me they're not politicizing it.
What he's doing is late, too late, anemic. Hopefully we can make up for the loss of time, but it'll have to have the professionals in place, the resources that are adequate, and not be using scare tactics about people coming back to our country.
We don't need a president who doesn't know the facts and blithely states whatever pops into his head that he thinks will benefit him for the moment.
Well, there you go. We're covering Super Tuesday breaking news. Joe Biden is projected to win North Carolina, 110 delegates up for grabs there. So far, he has 45% of the vote with Sanders 24 in that state. Sanders is projected to win Vermont. So far, Sanders has 50% of the vote in that state, and Joe Biden projected to win Virginia with 59% of the precincts in that state. Biden has 55% of the vote and 59 delegates. Right now on the delegate count, as of this moment, Biden leads with 116 delegates. Sanders has 80 delegates. We're going to end with something that made Yaffee Laffee in a moment. This is Beyond Reason Radio, and I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
You know what's beyond reason? Yaffee is now on YouTube. Go to YouTube now and just search Beyond Reason Radio.
Imagine me, a dog, moving in with a human. I didn't know how it would work. Turns out, my human's pretty entertaining. For instance, every time I give my human his ball, he throws it as far as he can. And I'm like, dude, that's your ball. So I go get it. But he just throws it. Again. I gotta say, though, the more he does it, the funnier it is. I love my human.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Here's Bud Hedinger talking about his favorite foods from around the world.
Oh, I'm a lucky guy. I can eat in Italy anytime I want because my wife's Italian and a real good cook. But beyond that, I have sweet, tasty memories of Wiener Schnitzel in Germany, Caribbean delights savored from Antigua to Cancun. Oh, yeah.
Find your favorite at the World Food Festival at Cranes Roost Park, March 28th. Details at worldfoodfestivalflorida.com. Brought to you by Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Fox 35 and Silk Road Wines.
I'm John Morgan. All law firms are not the same. As America's largest personal injury firm, we have more trials, more lawyers, more office buildings, and more caring staff members than any other injury law firm in the world. There's really nothing else like it. Our reputation and results speak for themselves. With more than 2 million people just like you calling us every single year, your trust in us means the world to me. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Dial pound law on your cell. Offices, Orlando.
No more fake news. No more negativity. No more groupthink. It's time for the new media revolution. Join me, David Gronowski, tonight at 8 for A Neighbor's Choice on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Message and data rates may apply.
Earning your degree from one of the top business schools in the country might sound impossible to fit into your workload. But what if there were a business degree that advanced your career skills and gave you access to world-renowned faculty, leaders, and mentors all on your schedule? One that opened doors to some of the most influential CEOs, tech companies, law firms, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. And what if you could earn that degree in as little as 16 months, 100% online? Find out more. Text DRIVE to 79645. Start on the path to earning your MBA or Business Analytics Master's degree online from the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University today. Learn more about the graduate programs from the top-ranked W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, offered 100% online. Text DRIVE to 79645. That's DRIVE to 79645.
See 2020 in 2020. Schedule your free consultation today at Filatowski Eye Institute, iHeartFEI.com.
Listen to us anywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Search WFLA Orlando. Your voice of truth in a world of fake news. Beyond Reason Radio continues right now.
So before we get into and we end the show with something that made Yaffee Laffee, I do want to play this cut from Trump earlier today talking about the peace deal with the Taliban in Afghanistan.
I spoke to the leader of the Taliban today. We had a good conversation. We've agreed there's no violence. We don't want violence. We'll see what happens. They're dealing with Afghanistan, but we'll see what happens. Okay? We had actually a very good talk with the leader of the Taliban. Yeah.
I don't think this is going to end well. I really don't. Tom Benson and I were talking before the show, and it reminds us of Vietnam. I mean, it really does. We made the so-called peace deal with Vietnam, and a couple of years later, they just took over the country. It's exactly what's going to happen. Could you imagine being the Afghan government right now?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to give any power to the Taliban. Do you trust them?
Thrown under the bus.
So we're probably going to end up having to go back. So, that's fun. It really is just beyond reason. Just want to point out that Biden's projected to win Virginia. Bernie Sanders projected to win Vermont. Biden projected to win North Carolina. And Bloomberg is in fourth place in all of those states. Fourth. Not third, not second. Fourth. Wow. Not a good sign for him. But we got to end the show with something that made Yaffee Laffee. Yes, and because it looks like Joe Biden is now the new front runner, at least with the first 3 states that we're having results in, I think we have to go back to what we did at the beginning of the show. A little montage here of the Biden gas of just the past couple of months.
This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island. Chip in and support our campaign. Text Joe to 30330. I got to get this right. Joe to 30330. All those Democrats who won against incumbents, from Jimmy Carter to a guy named Clinton, to a guy named Obama, my good friend, guess what? They had overwhelming
Obama wasn't an incumbent.
I've been coming here a long time. When I die, I want to be reborn in Charleston, actually.
That wasn't the city you were in.
I like the low country, you know what I mean?
Wrong city, Joe. Oh, man.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like to see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay? Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Ooh, this one's brutal.
All men and women created by you know the thing.
Obviously you don't.
We the people, folks, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. We've never lived up to that. Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I?
There's 2 things. One is capable of needing to be president because I'm an old guy.
Yes, you are.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. Thanks for your time. Please come back in less than 13 years, sir.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
I just did Chris. No, I just did Chuck. I tell you what, man, these are back to back. Anyway.
No, it's
I don't know
okay.
how you do it early in the morning, too.
Safe travels on the campaign trail. Thank you, sir.
Oof, there's your front runner, Democrats.
Thank
There's
you.
your potential nominee, Joe Biden. So far, he's won Virginia, North Carolina. Bernie Sanders has won Vermont. The delegate count, as of right now, Biden leads at 116 delegates. Sanders has 80. That's going to change throughout the night. Stay tuned to News Radio WFLA for the next 2 hours as Super Tuesday coverage continues. Neighbor's Choice coming up next, Fox News coverage. After that, appreciate you listening to the show, and I'll see you guys next time.